Hello, and welcome back to Platform Enterprise, a podcast for people who are pissed off with capitalism. I'm your host, Rachel Donald. I'm an investigative journalist and a writer. You can find some of my work over at platformenterprise.com, where you can also sign up to get these podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox every week. On this week's show is Chiara Chiccarello, an Italian artist based in Germany. Chiara came on the show to discuss the fascinating Discuvry project, a home her and her husband built from reclaimed wood found on the streets of Berlin that they then lived in for a few years and now travels around the world with them. Chiara discusses the benefits of living with less and of building with your own hands what you need in life. These two braved Berlin winters with no electricity and no running water, but were forced to leave when an arson attack destroyed some of the other homes that had popped up around them. There is a lot to love about Chiara, her outlook, and her art, which you can find at chicaboom.com. So before you go, please do give the episode, the conversation, a 5-star rating and leave a comment to let us know what you think. All right, here she is. Enjoy the show. Chiara, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks to you to invite me.
So just a bit of background for listeners. I met Chiara in a market in Berlin where I went to find some gifts for people because I'd been visiting the city, and then came away with a whole handful of art. Your amazing art that I took for myself, for my friends, for my family.
Thank you very
And
much.
I think it's fantastic, and I've subscribed to everything you're doing since then. And you sent an email a couple of weeks ago about Discurvy. So I'm going to stop there because it's not my story. But if you could just introduce yourself, perhaps, to the audience first of all, and then launch into the story of
Yes,
Discurvy.
yes. So I'm Chiara Ciccarello, and everybody call me Cicca. That's also my artist name. And I came from Sicily, where I grew up, and since 8 years I'm living in Berlin. And I studied architecture, and I was working for 2 years about before deciding that I my vocation was more like drawing and painting. And in Berlin I met my husband, is Yuki Taguchi, is also an artist. And also because this I was um, finding the courage to leave the architecture to art as a living profession. And also this project, the Discuvry, was born for a combination of causes. One was that when I met Yuki, he wanted like a big change in his life, in his life as a man and life as an artist. And one reason was like he was living very long in the same house, the same like a shared house, and they wanted this big changing. And also like in 2011 there was like the tsunami and the earthquake in Japan, and all the big Fukushima happening. At that time he was in Tokyo, and he was starting to wondering about the value of life and connected to the value of art. And also when this was happening and the people lose everything, and then what happened when people find themselves without house, without clothes, without like a warm, like a possibility to warming themselves, that in this case you have to know how to survive by yourself. Even the small things making a fire or building a shelter is something that we lost, because now it's everything ready for us. And that time also Yuki was wondering to use art and life to recover this knowledge, this wisdom about the simple things of the life. That was one of the big reason why he had this idea of starting the Discovery project. And then plus we met. I was just graduated in architecture, so he had this idea. Okay, maybe we can build a house. That's what we did.
Maybe we can build a house. So we did it.
Yes.
Now it's not. And so I think I mispronounced it earlier. It's Discovery.
It's Discuvry, like
Dis,
yeah, like pronounce
like
it
this.
because yeah, because the when we built the house, we built it in Berlin in Kreuzberg, in an empty lot that was in front of the Spree, and the street was called Kuvristrasse. That's why
Okay.
the project name
Dis,
Discuvry.
right. Okay. Got it. Got it. Discovery. So Discovery is not a normal house. For people that are listening and I don't know what it is. You so you built it down by the river on an
Yes.
abandoned lot. Um, First of all, how did you find that lot? How did that come about?
This lot it was as a big story in Korksberg. It was empty for a very long time. In the 90s, there was like a club that is still existing in Berlin in a different area. It's called YAM. It's
Mhm.
a club run by African community. So in the 90s, it was there. Then they had to move because this like the lot was called Kuvri Brache. Brache is like an empty space in German, and uh, yeah, there was the jam. Then they have to move because it was a private lot, and the owner, that's a very rich man, was okay to have people to use it until he had like other plans for it. And after the yam, there was also like it was squatted. There was like a community there, but then there was like many time like the rumor of eviction, so they leave it.
Mm.
And it was also the Guggenheim Museum by BMW was there
Mm.
in the 2000. And then like when we arrived in 2012, 2013 in March, there was like a small community of punk Polish people like living in two teepee tent.
Mhm.
So we thought, okay, maybe it's possible to make a project there since it was like used by other people, and went there and just talked to the people living there and asking if it was okay for us to start this project there, and so there was no problem, so we did it.
Oh, fantastic. So you'd heard about it and about sort of the myth of this lot and went
Yeah,
down to discover it.
it was pretty known
Right.
by Berlin people.
Okay. It's one of those Berlin things.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then how did you build because it's qualified as like a tiny house, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is my favorite question. How did you build it? With
So
what?
we just collected material around Berlin. Like we rent one van and we went around the city to collect like a waste material, like mostly wood.
Mm.
And then yeah, so all the wood that we use for building the house, it's just like wasted wood. So and then we didn't have any electricity or water there, so we use just our hands. So we cut it by hand using like Japanese
Wow.
saw, and we use nails and hammer. That's how we build it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. How long did it take?
The house, let's say it's like 2 room. Even if it's super small, it's like I would say like 12, maybe 13 square meter. So the
Mm.
first construction was the living room and the high bed. It took like 1 month for building it, and then
Okay.
the kitchen is another month. So in altogether, it's 2 months.
Wow. And I'm assuming your architecture background came in very useful for doing that.
Yes,
Please continue.
even if like a designing and building, it's it's very different, and
Yeah.
I learned it.
What was the biggest surprise that you had building it?
Well, like on the technical point of view, yes, I was like I was learning a lot because like
Mm.
when you design something, you don't know about the phase that you have to like the step that you have to do while you are building it.
Mm.
And on the social point of view, like the people living there, and then how the community evolved, it was like my like biggest surprise and my biggest interest. I was very interested in how the people spontaneously create something with the city.
Mm. All right, let's get into that. So it took a couple of months to build, and then Yuki and yourself, you moved in, didn't you, to live there?
Yes, we were living there like for 1.5 years.
Right. Okay. So it was completely livable. I assume it was insulated and everything. You guys really managed to build your own home in this abandoned lot. And then other people started to do the same thing around you. Isn't that what happened?
Yes, it was. Well, we were expecting, like, because our house was the first house, there were some tents there. We were somehow expecting that people, like, seeing that we build a house without any problem from the police or something, that they will have joined.
Mm.
Uh, but I couldn't imagine that in the end, after 1 year, there were so many people there. I think I counted like 150 people living there in the end before the eviction. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And were they also living in houses that they had built, or was it an amalgamation of different
It was
homes?
like many people living there. It was in the end there was a big like a Roma community, like a gypsy
Hmm.
community, and yeah, most of the people were living there. Some artists also were using the place as like a studio, but I would say like the most of the people were living there. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And was there a sense of community with you all together?
Yeah, that's also the things that we were hoping for, but actually there were not so much. There were like a
Okay.
more small group, small community, but there was not a common sense of community. It was
Right.
very
Okay.
individualistic. I would say it was kind of a mirror of a nowadays society.
Oh, why do you think that is?
Yep, because I think like now, especially maybe in a big city like Berlin, like people, it's trying to survive by themselves and not like losing a little bit like the way that we can be stronger together and do more
Hmm.
together. Yeah.
Okay, so you think it kind of mimicked the trend that was also happening in Berlin at that time?
Yeah, I think it's something that is happening in all the world.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. But Berlin was kind of, Berlin was like the destination for artists and for creatives and people seeking something else. And it's, slowly kind of become gentrified over the past decade.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Like, it was this place that was called by the people living there free Kubri because it was free for everybody to go there and build their house or do whatever they want. And that was like a beautiful thing.
Mm.
But on the other hand, like some people, then there's things that this freedom is doing whatever they want without respecting also others. So it's like a misunderstood this concept. It was not created in the beginning as a community. Like when we arrived there, it was already like the people. It was like 15 people. They were not really like a community. They were like
Mm.
two TP. One were like this Russian Polish punk, and then one was like a Argentinian guy with a German girl. There were already like some conflict between them, like,
Oh, okay.
and then like also in the end when the Roma families came in, it was also difficult the communication. I mean,
Mm.
I love like the gypsy and the Roma way like of living, but they are very close community. It's very difficult to get them trust you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they go through a lot
Yes.
in many, many, yeah.
So that would have needed more time. like to,
Okay.
yeah.
And for the artists like yourselves that did come down to join, was that because they'd heard what you were doing, or how did that come about?
Yeah, some people some people were coming and visiting us, and then seeing that it was possible to create something there.
Mm,
There was like one Canadian carpenter that built a beautiful house that unfortunately couldn't not be saved like us.
mm,
And then like a Spanish painter also, that she was like using the house for studio. And we also tried to do something all together, like create like a festival for people to visit the place. Um, but yeah, I have to say it was a bit difficult to get all the people like get along.
mm. Maybe let's keep picking away at that point, actually,
Yeah.
because it's a really good micro example of sort of what happens in cities and in nations and then in the international community. You said that perhaps given more time,
Yes.
the okay, so you think time you didn't have enough time. What else do you think is necessary to create bridges between different communities in order to enable a broader community under one, I don't know, umbrella?
Well, I think like we have to be like very open minded to diversity, and
Mm,
also the way that we communicate is very important. So we have to learn how to communicate in a way that's avoiding conflict or mitigate it.
mm,
And that's, I think, also in Berlin, sometime it's missing with the people. So we are, when we feel attacked with communication, the first things that nowadays I see in the city, it's responding with like an aggressive way. But like the best way is always like to try to like calm down and have a no violence communication. That's the first
mm,
things.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Okay, so counting to 10. Which is kind of what we say. I mean, that's what I say to myself when I'm in a bad mood. Count to 10 before you respond. So
Yes.
so taking time, right, okay. And non-violent, this is interesting, non-violent communication, because non-violent protest is definitely I don't want to say a trend because that would denigrate the history of the movement, but it's sort of come back certainly in the past sort of 5 years of people, certainly the left, trying to engage in non-violence as forms of action. But non-violent communication is something that maybe we don't speak about enough. Can you give an example, perhaps, of in the in the community when um, uh, there was a miscommunication? And yeah,
Well,
just
I
there was a
can do like a
miscommunication.
very like a personal, simple example.
Sure.
When, for example, when we arrived here in this small village in Altenamze to start our
Mm,
project, and then we had like I had a van like that we are using to collecting also material here for the project, because we always collect like material from the place that we can reuse it.
mm,
And then I was like parking the van uh, like close by this house, and then a man was coming out, and then like the first things that he was saying, like, it's who are you, what are you doing? And then
mm,
my first reaction, it was like why you talk me like so like strong and aggressive? And then my
mm,
first way was to answer also with the same
mm,
tone. But
mm,
then I was like, after 1 minute, understanding that it was not leading to anywhere. So that's why I was like calming down and start like, I'm Chiara, I'm an artist, I'm doing this, nice to meet you. And that was
mm,
going like super smooth. And then
mm,
like there was no problem at all. Like that's one, like one simple example, no? And also like for me, like also the difference of culture between Italian and German. No, that's also something that in communication. I mean, German very direct, very strong communication, where like Italian, it's very emotional and trying always to make it, I would say, light and like a warm. And that's like
Mm-hmm.
no, there is no the best or the worst in this. It's just different, and then
Yeah.
I have just to understand the difference of the culture and like
Mm.
avoiding all the conflict. Yeah.
Mm. But then I suppose that leads to the question, like, if there is the chance of conflict, which culture learns to concede a little bit in order to create like an opportunity of non-violence, you know?
Yeah, but I think like the point is like that personally we don't have to, yeah, to think which culture is like a best or who,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like individually we have to try. That's the
Mm.
things. That's the, so we can talk about community, but like first each of us has to try to go in this direction. Otherwise, it's like not working.
Right. Okay. So we can talk about cultural problems, but the solutions lie with individuals and how we
Exactly.
choose to act and engage with each other. Very nice. So tell me about what happened with Discovery because you guys were there for 18 months and then there was a fire, I believe.
Yes. So yeah, in the September 2014, there was a big fire,
Mm.
and the thing is, nobody of the camps knows who like started the fire. The thing is that the private security was there before the police, so
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
don't. Yes, I don't know, but after the fire, the first arrived the private security, the second arrived the police, then the firemen, and then after that, everybody had to go out, and in 3 days, it was everything destroyed.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Hang on.
That
I
was
need to
very quick.
understand this. Okay. So, was the lot still owned by the same guy, the same private
Yes.
individual? Right. Okay. And how much did the fire destroy?
Uh, it was just one house burning. Fortunately, nobody was there around
Wow.
when the fire was. So there was no injuries,
Mm.
and yeah, it was like one house in front of our house. It was like a really lucky our house that was not destroyed, and that super lucky that nobody was injured. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So did the police establish that the fire had been started on purpose?
yeah, somebody did it. Who
Oh, it's
we don't
actual
know.
arson?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So there's an arson attack, a house goes up, the private security arrive, then the police and the firemen.
Yes,
They ask everybody to leave. You
for
leave for
safety
3 days.
reason,
Yeah,
and
okay,
nobody could.
which
Yeah,
like you would believe that, yes.
yes,
And
but
then tell me,
and then nobody could enter anymore. Like the
they
day
locked you
after,
out.
yes, the day after they allowed like people to enter like with like police to just pick them personal stuff and go out again, and nobody could enter anymore. And then in 3 days, the bulldozer came, and then there was everything destroyed.
No.
Yeah, in 1 week was nothing already.
Wow. After so many years of it being built up by different people.
Yes.
Okay, but what about your legal rights as squatters in Berlin?
Well, I think this like legal rights are getting less and less. Like even
Uh,
this year, like during the lockdown, started from last year. Like yeah, with the pandemic, they evicted lot of squat in Berlin.
oh, did
Like
they?
yes, the lot of historical one, and also like for the pandemic and everything, for people was very difficult also to demonstrate against the eviction.
Oh, so a lot of people took that opportunity to just. cleanse,
Yes,
quote
that's
unquote.
what we think. Yeah.
Okay, tell me, because it must have been a whole new kind of freedom to like build the place that you're going to live in. You must have felt so empowered, right?
Yes, I was. I mean, we were very happy to see that people were using the space for the best. That would be like that it was an artist, but also family, the Roma
Yeah.
family, finding a place there, and that's like for me, like coming from Italy, like we have a lot of Roman community,
Mm.
using the empty space in the city. But I think for Germany was something new.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, like you built the place that you lived with your bare hands.
Yes.
You know, like I can't even imagine how sort of liberating that must have felt.
Yes, that's. I mean, we learn a lot. Like that's the focus of this project,
Mm.
learning and sharing,
Mm.
wisdom.
Mm.
So we learn how to build it by ourselves, but also the people there were giving us advice, and we were also sharing this advice with other people.
Mm.
So what's was the most um, mm, powerful things was this sharing this wisdom.
Okay. All right. And then it was taken away in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, we were really, really lucky that in the time of the eviction, exactly in that time, we had a project with a theater in Berlin, Ebel am Hofer,
Mm.
and then we were planning to have some event and workshop in the lot in the Free.
Mm.
And then exactly in that day, there was happening the fire and the eviction, and then because this project and the support of the theater, we could contact the owner and say that we have to save this house as an art object, and then we could
Um,
save it. And it was very quick. In one day, we just cut it. This house was not built for being a moving house, so we have
yeah,
just
yeah.
to cut it and then bring it away. Yeah.
So you managed to save Discuvry,
Yes. Like
right?
this. Yeah.
Okay.
This
And
project is.
then
Yeah. Please.
no, sorry, please. This
Yeah,
project.
just this project is this house is a super lucky house. It's just keeping surviving by itself and the people that support it.
Yeah. So this is the thing now. You and Yuki, you travel around with the house, showing it, don't you?
Yes, yeah, we have the possibility to show it around the world. It was the
Wow.
first time was in Denmark, in Krug. It was, and then the second time it was still Japan. That was 2019. Like we
Wow.
bring it on the beach of Kanaiwa Sea, and then this year I was coming back home to Germany.
Mm. And is it still the same wood that you collected on the streets of Berlin, or do you rebuild it in each location with different materials?
No, it's exactly the same house, like
It's
with
the
some
same.
some reparation.
That must be the most well-traveled house in the history of the entire world.
Yes.
And what do you think? Why do you think people want to come and see Discovery? What do you think it gives them?
I think it's it's not just the object. It's not like a sculpture. It's more like the story of the house. I think it's very
Mm.
interesting, and see how many people is became part of this story, and we hope that many more will be part of it.
Mm.
And yeah.
Well, you know, we live in a time of financialized housing markets where it's really, really difficult for people to live, to support themselves. Do you think it also gives people hope that they can find alternative ways of living, that they can, build their own home with their bare hands?
Yes, of course. Like many people, it's very surprised at how we could build it also from crap wood by ourselves. with just like no electricity and nothing. And yeah, also many people say I would not able to do it, but I think, yeah, it's just learning while doing it, or just like meeting other people that can like share this knowledge, and yeah. And I think like one interesting point, it's like focusing on which things of our life is more essential. So what we really need. We need, of course, we need a shelter, we need food, we need clothes. That's the first things like the that we need. And how can we we do it by ourselves? Yes, we can actually. Like we don't need like a big house. Like we can build like a small house. We If we need food, we can also grow like our food. We can make our like a veggies, and the clothes. Actually, we have so much waste nowadays. It's possible to find like a very cheap like clothes that now like, and upcycling it or learning how to make something new with that. Because also like we are losing like also the value of the things, because we don't imagine how much in the past time was needed to create like a fabric or to grow some veggies, because now we have like everything too easy.
Yeah, we're not at all involved in the production of the
Yeah,
things around us.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
also like what we think, like doing by ourselves, the things have a new like a value, or like we understand more the value of the things. Like how is beautiful like to like make a meal with the veggies that you grow by yourself, like even if it's just potato and onions, like, and cooking it with a fire that you made by yourself in the house that you built by yourself. It's like completely different value.
Could you keep going into it? Like what was perhaps the thing that you least expected would change about your relationship with value after building Discuvry and living there?
I think yeah, I understood like that many things that we have nowadays not really needed, or I don't need so much of that. Like so reduce like the object that I need, like that could be like clothes, or like even like when we were living there, we didn't have electricity. I don't need to have like the computer like switch on all the time, or like I even don't need to have the TV. Like it's not, you know, like even like candle or like oil lamp. It's enough for lighting. Yeah, and the one things that I really also like it a lot, it's like how people like when you have very few things, but you can still share it. And if you need something, then people can give you something, and you can give something in exchange.
Like a kind of real circular
Yeah.
economy.
Yes.
It's interesting because, the climate movement is really trying to get people to reduce, to reuse, to live with less, to consume less, and it's trying to change industries. And yet, you and your husband achieved this like super climate friendly life, not by doing it for the climate, but by changing your values
Yes.
or evolving your values. Did you
Yes.
see that? Please.
That's what I think. Like it's necessary, because I think like yeah, like the each of us like individually we have to do something for that. Like first, then expecting like I mean, we can start with small things. Like
Sorry, start what with small things?
like for example, I can start to reduce my waste. I can start to don't think that having meat it's something that it's, I mean, it's like a luxus to eat meat. It's not something that we have
Totally.
to do every day.
Totally. Yeah, but it still is interesting that it all came about for you through this very, very different, way. Like of rather than thinking consciously, okay, what can I do to tackle this specific problem? You your values evolved over the course of a project and you solved a lot of problems as a byproduct, of living more in like a conscious value system.
Yes,
And I think that even what you're talking about community, about people taking responsibility for how we speak to each other, individuals taking responsibility for the lives that they want to create, for the homes that they want to build, um, and yeah, for your sort of individual footprint in the world. I think it's quite remarkable what
thank
you've
you.
done. How, like, have you brought those values with you, even though you guys had to leave this? I'm gonna keep mispronouncing it. Discurvy? No,
Discovery.
Discuvry.
Yes, that's
Jeez, Rach. Discuvry. Sorry. Um, what have you brought those values with you since leaving Discuvry?
yes, of course. And we also we trying to show this project around the world. That's also a way to bring this value to people.
Hmm. Do you find it more difficult to live in line with those same values when being, I don't know, back in a city or wherever?
Uh, well, also this project, Discovery, was born in the middle of a European capital. So we were in
Totally.
the
Yeah.
city, and that was also I mean, it's different when we build it in a countryside, and then when we were living in the city, there is much more waste from the capital
Mm.
that can be
Mm.
reused. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, but without, because you don't live in, do you live in Discovery when you build it again?
Yes, we live there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So maybe this is the question that I badly asked before. Do you find it easier to live in line with these values that you created when living in Discovery?
Or okay. Nah, I think once that you learn this kind of value, it's then it's part of you. You just keep following
Okay.
them. It's not something that depends on where you live, like
Mm, yeah.
that's yeah, that's what I think. Once that we see how much waste we are producing. Also,
Mhm.
that was another problem when we were living in Berlin, because Berlin, in the city, the waste are private. So all the garbage is collected inside the houses. So all the Berlin
Okay.
building, they have this system of inside court, and there is
Okay.
where the waste is collected. So in the street you have a very small garbage box
Hmm.
that was not possible to fit the garbage produced by 150 people. So we had a huge a problem
Ah.
with that, and that's once that you see that, then you keep doing it also when you are living in a let's say normal apartment. We
Mm.
try to reduce it. This, it's something that will be always part of our like uh, value.
It's interesting, isn't it? When you kind of run out of options to do something in one way, we're adapted to find solutions. That's
Yeah.
like what humans do best. You just figure it out. um, I'm still thinking about that fire that was started. Um, would you encourage like people to go out and to try this, to build their own home, not just to live with less, because everybody should be trying to live with less all the time for sure, but to actually try and sort of escape, the private markets that dominate our lives.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Would you encourage people to go out and try to build their own home?
Yes, I would. I would. Yeah. It's I think it's something that it's really changing you in a way, and also, well, like we all agree that it's the market of houses, it's now crazy. I mean, there was like this in Berlin, there was this law that were trying to make it pass as the Mietendecke, like the limit of the renting for houses. And then it was approved last year until like this month was again it was not passing the parliament, so it was not getting national. And it's like a huge problem because like it was, when was it, in the last some months ago, they said that it was okay, there was this limit on the rent. And then all the houses in Berlin, like for residential use, all the rent was going down, and people were starting to pay like almost half of the rent. It was like amazing, like was
Oh,
beautiful, the rule,
yeah.
like a law that was passing. And what was happening last month, that this law was not approved in the national level, and now all the people has to pay back all this like money that was like cut. Yeah.
No.
So that's crazy
No.
because like all Berlin, it's mostly owned not by Berlin, not from the city, but it's
Mm.
owned by private big, like a real estate company, and they have
Mm.
more power to decide than the people.
Yeah.
So I would say to everybody, yes, build your own house, like use the empty space, reclaim your city. Yeah.
But this is the thing, you guys were kicked out. Somebody started a damn fire of one of the houses. How do people reclaim spaces safely, or are we just going to have to take the risk to do it unsafely? And also, how do we change like the language around it so that it's not about occupying, it's about, you know or even taking back. It's just about giving people like the space to live and the right to live.
Yes. Well, like we need, we need we need politicians that have to start to care about the rights of the people
Mm.
more than the rights of the billionaire who has like who owns the city.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the
It's
other, yeah, please.
no, please, no, no, no. Go ahead.
On the on another side, I would say if it's everybody really start to fight like in a pacific way for
Mhm.
their rights, like if it's everybody really imagine if everybody takes the empty space of the empty building in the city and use it because they need it, then it's not possible for them to win if it's like all the people together like doing it. But I know sounds like utopistic or
No, it doesn't sound utopic at all. I mean, utopia would be everybody having what they need when they need it. Not having to sort of go up against huge legal structures and companies and people that are very, very well connected. I think people are looking for a solution to like the financialization of all markets. It's like this late stage capitalism is crumbling underneath the weight of itself. Um, do you think that that is something that has to happen, like the reclaiming of spaces and of buildings?
yes, I think I would love to see it happen. It's
Mm.
something that was already happening years ago. Like, I mean, Berlin was
Yeah.
like when the wall was coming down, it was happening everywhere around
Mm.
the wall, be it like Prenzlauer Berg, Kreuzberg, and Friesland, where everything squatted. But nowadays, the process is going completely in the other direction because all these old squatted, they are disappearing. They are like cleaning them. They're
That's
evicting
awful.
everything. Yeah.
I didn't know that that was happening. Berlin is one of those places, I think, when you don't live in it, like you cross your fingers and you hope that it's going to remain this like pretty magical place where people can get away with things and like the proles are protected, but apparently not.
Yeah, it's happening. I have to say, but Berlin still people are really active and fighting for their right, especially for the right of having a home
Mm.
that is affordable,
Yeah.
that has a right price. There is like a big movement, and people really fighting, and now they are like collecting again, like signature for passing again this law for keeping the house price low. They are really active, and we are fighting still for that until this is keep going, and people make them hear their voice. I think there is hope. Yeah,
As long as people feel heard, there's hope.
yeah.
What a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Hey everyone, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I don't know, we lost the last 5 minutes of our interview. But just flagging, Chiara platformed German artist Linda Havenstein, and I will have her on the show in a couple of weeks. Make sure to check out Chiara's artwork over at chickaboom.com. That's CICCABOOM.com. I love all of her work. That's what got me chatting to her a year ago at that Berlin market. But I'm particularly obsessed with her coffee spoon series, which I'm proud to display on one of the walls in the house. Do go and check it out. And if you're looking for something really original and fascinating and joyous, be sure to choose Chiara's work. Also, before you go, please don't forget to leave the podcast a 5-star rating and subscribe over at platformenterprise.com. That means you'll get these episodes delivered to your inbox every week. And one day, eventually, I will no longer be beholden to the demon that is social media. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. See you next week.